Good morning. Welcome everyone to the first information session of the Joint Call High Performance Computing 2022. My name is Ramona Kaula. I am coordinator of the National Competence Center in High Performance Computing, hosted by Lux Innovation. Today here with me, there is Benjamin Questier, Director of Research and Innovation Support at Lux Innovation. Then we have the pleasure to have with us Pauli, Project Manager at the Luxembourg Ministry of the Economy. We have also with us Dr. Saktivel Sundaram, Program and Innovation Manager at Luxembourg National Research Fund. And last but not least, Maximilian Brisbil, Advisor of Corporate R&D and Innovation Support at Lux Innovation. We are here today to provide you some useful information to help you to successfully respond to this joint call for high-performance computing projects, which opens today, actually. This webinar and the following ones in the series will be an excellent opportunity for you to learn more about the objective of the call, and as well as the process of preparing applications and to ask your questions. In this regard, please don't hesitate to use the webinar toolbox on the right side of your screen. Use these question tabs to type your questions. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar where we'll respond to your questions, doubts, and needs of clarifications. There is also the chat box. Please use it to introduce yourself and to report technical issues and to say hi to everyone. I would like this webinar indeed to be as much interactive as possible. So that's why we invite you to introduce yourself and be active. So also please be aware that the info session will be recorded and will be made available to you right after the webinar. Now let's dive into it, starting with a short introduction of Benjamin Questier about the mission and the concept of the joint call, followed by Dr. Saktivel, who will follow to complement introduction from the FNR perspective. So I'll give the floor to Benjamin now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ramona. I'm, as just said, Benjamin Questier. I'm the Director of Research, Development, and Innovation Support at Lux Innovation, the National Innovation Agency. Welcome to this webinar to launch the first call for high-performance computing. In fact, it's the third joint call that we have on national level. The first one was dedicated to health tech. The second one, which is still running in phase 2, was for defense. So what is a joint call? Well, to us, it means bringing together two main funding organizations, the Fonds National de Recherche and the Ministry of Economy, to enable funding projects where public, like university, RTOs, and private entities, startups, companies, or larger industries can collaborate, share risks, and work together. Well, Lux Innovation, as National Innovation Agency, is acting as a third party, and we have set up a platform, the Research Industry Collaboration.lu platform. The first mission of the platform is to bring together public research and companies. You can create there a profile, you can share it with the other users, you can share your interests, your research topics, or cooperation initiatives. The platform proposes also a toolkit where one can find support on how to set up effective public partnerships. But of course, you can also reach out to our experts to have more personalized support services towards that. And then, of course, we use this platform also for collaborative calls that we build with our partners. On a dedicated place, you will find all the information that will be presented later about the call, the topics, the criteria, the procedure, the potential partners. And we will also ask you to submit your proposal on this joint call. As I said in the beginning, these calls are relatively new to all of us. For you, they are a new opportunity to challenge your initiatives, to find collaborations, and if successful, to find, of course, to have financial support to run your project. It's a new funding tool that's available in the ecosystem, and that completes also more traditional approaches from the ministry or from the FNR. It is also a change of paradigm, and that's quite important for me to underline. It's that, at least for the private sector, we are not, we only here to support the most competitive proposals, because only the most competitive proposals will be selected. However, you must know that there are various kinds of instruments and various kinds of aid schemes that are available to test and to learn about HPC, how you can improve or transform your activity, depending on your skills, on your digital maturity, but also on your capacity to scale some solutions. These other schemes, which we are not covering today, but that you should be aware of, they are non-competitive and they have no deadline. So you should not hesitate to reach out to some of our people as well to get more specific support. As for today, this joint call is an enabler to stimulate the digital transformation of our economy, of your company, by implementing innovative research projects on HPC capacities and integrating computer-aided engineering, design, and analytics, as well as high-performance computing into your internal innovation processes. We are looking for strong public-private partnerships, as I said, efficient tech transfer to increase companies' expertise, and projects that will demonstrate a structured impact. So thank you all for being present today. Our mission at Lux Innovation is to help you today, to innovate today, to be ready for tomorrow. And I hope that in that sense, you can find some help here today to effectively transfer your computational R&D activities, data analytics, or initial AI to HPC capacities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you for your introduction words. Now I'll give the floor to Saktivel for a complementary perspective from the FNR.
Thank you, Ramona. Thank you, Benjamin. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shaktivel Sundaram. People generally call me as Sakti. I work as a program manager at FNR, the National Research Fund in Luxembourg. The National Research Fund is the main funder for research activities in Luxembourg. Most of you might have heard already about what FNR is doing and our missions and vision, also the strategic priorities and so on. So we invested a tremendous amount of funding in the past to enable this research is progressing. Especially the last year, 74 million euros are invested for the public research. I kindly ask you in our web page, in the first page, we could find the annual report of 2021 that gives you an idea of what has happened last year. So coming to the joint call of HPC, I would like to highlight some of our strategic priorities from 2022 to 2025 and how these strategic priorities are aligned with this joint call. So the priority one, FNR's priority one is from 22 to 25 is that a first-rate research system for today. What it means is that strengthening the foundations. You might have heard programs like FNR Core, FNR Pride, FNR AFR, and so on. And the priority two from FNR is that connecting science and the society. That means how we can create values for everybody. This is exactly this particular call also sits programs like you might have heard FNR Bridges, FNR Jump, FNR Industrial Fellowships, and so on. Even the newest one, the NICER, the National Center of Excellence in Research, it also sits in this particular priority. That is connecting society and the science. And the priority three, of course, leading edge research system for tomorrow, that is being bold and leading the way. So that is where you come across the newer programs like Initiate, also how people, data, and ecosystem are connected. So coming back again to the priority two, the connecting science and society, we used to run the programs, innovation programs such as Bridges, Jump. And this particular call sits closer to Bridges. When we see the program itself, I will explain more on the joint call specifics. But at this time, what I want to bring is how we can create the knowledge development, how we can transfer the knowledge from industry to academia and academia to industry. So with that note, the joint call is going to help, especially on the HPC side, and all of us create more values to the society. Thank you, Ramona.
Thank you, Sakti, for your introduction. Now I'd like to present you the agenda of what we are going to see today. So I'll share our slides. We are already covered the introduction point. Then I'll present you the National HPC Competence Center. We'll have then the presentation of the joint call by Christian and Sakti, and we'll go towards conclusion with presenting Lux Innovation support. This is presented by Max. And then we'll have a Q&A session. So please don't forget to type in your questions. You can also type directly during our presentations, so we can rapidly go into answering your questions at the end. You can type your questions at any time during this presentation. Let me introduce then who are the actors behind this joint HPC call initiative. This initiative is the result of collaboration between the Ministry of the Economy and the National Research Fund, which are the two granting authorities. Then Lux Innovation is also participating to this initiative and manages the research industry collaboration platform. It's the place where you will find information and you will apply and submit your project. And the National Competence Center in HPC, hosted at Lux Innovation, and coordinates the Luxembourg HPC ecosystem in collaboration with the University of Luxembourg and Lux Provide. So for those of you who don't know yet the National Competence Center in HPC, I'll take a few minutes to give you an overview. So the National HPC Competence Center was recently set up, and it is the contact point for industry. Doesn't matter the size, from startup to SMEs to big industry, but also supports academia and public administration we offer guidance, basically, to be informed, to inform you about HPC services and capabilities in Luxembourg, but also abroad, as we are part of a European network of national competence centers in HPC, with which we collaborate. Then we offer also services. We offer you business support to understand what are the benefits of HPC and how HPC can help to accelerate your innovation. We offer operational support with our partners, Lux Provide and University of Luxembourg, to help you to operationally use the HPC capabilities present in Luxembourg, being the Luxina supercomputer, the national supercomputer, and the supercomputer of the University of Luxembourg. We offer also help to find funding opportunities, and today we're presenting one of those funding opportunities and possibilities. And as mentioned before, we are also launchpad and gateway to European outreach, other HPC initiatives, and support available beyond Luxembourg. So just to give you more insights in what you can do with HPC, you can do simulations and modeling of complex systems. You can do also big data analytics and visualization of that results. You can do predictions and forecasting, or virtual prototyping and testing to stress test your products or processes and understand where is the breaking point to obviously implement actions and avoid that. And you can also train machine learning and deep learning algorithms and artificial intelligence algorithms. There are also new methodologies developed where you can integrate AI in the loop and improve the methodology I mentioned before for smarter computation and reducing costs and time. Then to give you some few examples, practical ones about use cases. You can do simulation of manufacturing processes to reduce waste, or you can simulate thermodynamics property, chemical properties, and the behavior of different structures under pressure of the environment. You can simulate climate change scenarios, or to simulate or design different products, or use AI algorithms training to predict or to let's say create platforms that will leverage AI capabilities. You can do predictive maintenance or use geospatial intelligence using images, satellite images, to implement broad array and portfolio of services. HPC is also used to simulate architectural structures and in their environment, how the environment basically changes the structure or impacts the structure. And you can also simulate how the human interaction with the structures and to make the structure as best as possible for the human purpose and the final purpose. So these are some of the examples. Of course, we are open to see new advancements, new examples, new methodologies, and we are here to help you to develop those innovative projects for your companies or for your research. Now I'll give the floor to Christian to dive into the call objectives, criteria, and timelines. Christian, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Ramona, and good morning to everybody. So my name is Christian Pauli, and I work in the division of industry, new technology, and research at the Ministry of Economy, and I'm in charge of the organization of this call on the side of the Ministry of Economy. So yeah, in line with the previous calls that have been organized together with the Avena and together with Lux Innovation, this call also would like to offer a funding opportunity to support consortia. So consortia that are built by one public partner, or at least one public partner and one private partner, to take advantage of high performance computing capacities in their specific research fields. So the reason is that we want to encourage the integration of computer-aided engineering designs and analytics, as well as the use of HPC into companies' internal innovation process. And on the other side, of course, also help to foster the implementation of high quality and innovative applied research projects that are based on HPC. Ramona gave already a nice introduction into what HPC can offer on the side of direct business, for instance, but also on opportunities in research and development. And yeah, in that sense, HPC is a real innovation accelerator that offers enormous potential in various fields, like for instance simulation and virtual prototyping, where time to market can be reduced significantly, for instance. Then it enables also to solve large and complex problems that are based on many parameters, and it enables big data analytics and training of artificial intelligence algorithms, and of course many other things. Here on the left side you see a picture of a CVD model of a battery cell, where properties of specific materials can be calculated. And on the right side, there is, for instance, a workflow for high throughput computation that is based on density functional theory, where you can quite fast calculate different properties of materials and then end up with a specific list of materials. Otherwise, you would have some trial and error process that would take ages to come to the same results. However, our analysis showed that today HPC is only rarely used in the private sector, and this has many reasons. And one main reasons that we also want to tackle here with this call is that sometimes the knowledge, the required knowledge to scale, for instance, numerical simulations up to an HPC infrastructure is not there. And exactly this we want to tackle here with this call. So let me say a few words to the general call objectives. So I mentioned already that we want to integrate HPC into the company's internal innovation process, and on the other side, we want also to foster a high quality and high impact research. And our approach is to facilitate collaborative projects between, on the one hand, public research institution, and on the other hand, private companies, to come together and to jointly produce applied research results that are based on HPC and that are valuable for both parties. In this sense, the aim of the call is also to address new or different research questions that will lead to innovation and sustainable value creation, and it should also increase the attractiveness of Luxembourg as an innovation hub based on advanced technology research on HPC. And then, of course, I mentioned it already, the aim is also to increase the company's expertise in HPC applications such that the company is on the long term or will be able to do such kind of research and development also on their own. This call targets industrial research only because we think that this is the most appropriate way to achieve the goals, namely to create a sustainable knowledge gain that will lead then to a substantial increase of knowledge on the side of the company, but also on the side of the public research institute. So now I will talk a little bit about the specific call topics. So the research projects must address innovative problems that require large allocations of computing and data storage resources. So we don't want to support projects that could also be run on a normal workstation. Therefore, applications must clearly state why an HPC infrastructure is needed to achieve the research or the project goals. We will also focus on specific HPC application fields, which are given here below. So namely complex simulations with multiple parameters, virtual testing and optimization, big data analytics and visualization, artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms, as well as predictions and forecasting of complex models. So this can, for instance, include the development of new methods, new techniques to reliably predict some events, like for instance weather forecast or similar. And then the projects, they should be within certain thematic areas which are given here. So we are focusing on manufacturing, advanced engineering, materials, energy and environmental technologies, and also telecommunications. And then last but not least, we focus within this call on companies that have already substantial expertise in carrying out computer-aided R&D, but that have so far little or no expertise in HPC, so that need to rely on a strong partner from the public research institutes to make the transfer onto HPC infrastructures. Now I will come to the more general eligibility criteria, which are in line also with our standard R&D aid schemes. So for companies, the companies need to fulfill certain criteria, namely the first one is that only private companies that are registered here in Luxembourg are eligible for direct funding by the Ministry of Economy, or they should establish a Luxembourgish entity before the phase 2 of this call. And then on top of that, the company must also demonstrate its viability and financial soundness regarding their contribution to the project. And on the other side, it shall also demonstrate a positive impact of the expected project outcome on its growth and future asset. So that the project should clearly have a positive impact on the future of the company. On the other hand, so within the frame of state aid regulation, a company is not eligible if the company is an undertaking in difficulty. So what does that mean? So normally we will check certain parameters that come from the balance sheets or the annual or the profit and loss accounts, and which tell something about about the financial soundness of a company. So in this case, for instance, we look at the subscribed share capital and the accumulated losses. And so if more than half of the subscribed share capital has disappeared as a result of accumulated losses during 1 year, then the company is said to be in difficulty and will not be eligible here for this call, unless the company has already taken some measures to get out of that situation, for instance, by some recapitalization or similar. On the other hand, startups that are younger than 3 years, they do not fall under that criterion. All right, now Sakti will move on.
Thank you, Christian. So the public research organizations, more or less what Christian mentioned. So here also the public research organization must be registered in Luxembourg. Also, the public research organizations accredited by the Ministry of Higher Education and Research. So on the right side, you could see a few institutions which are regularly applied to FNR, the public institutions, but these are not just limited. There are also other public research organizations can apply to this call, but what is important is the accreditation from the Higher Education, Ministry of Higher Education and Research. And a few other details about the PI. PI must have a PhD. It's important. Otherwise, if PI does not have a PhD, if he or she has enough experience, then I mean, he can write to an email to FNR to me, and then we can check the profile and we can see is it still an eligible candidate. So the PI must have the work contract covering the full duration of the project. It means if it is 24 months, PI must have 24 months of coverage. If it is 36 months, and then the PI must have a work contract until 36 months. And general guidelines are as similar as bridges, FNR bridges. You can also, after this webinar, we would share this presentation. You can always refer. But what is important is when we make or when you create a co-ownership agreement between public institutions and the private, we expect a commercialization agreement put in place before the contract starts. This is important mainly in order to protect the IP rights or whatever the agreement between the partners. And apart from that, I didn't mention here, but a question I got it a few days before, whether a PhD student is a part of the team, a part of the consortium. Since we aim here for expertise, know-how share. That means we expect a minimum of a postdoc level candidates in the project. And also the project funding is from 2 years. We think PhD students is not part of the consortium. We have a regular bridges in which we have, in fact, this year we have 2 times the call. So they are always welcome to apply to the regular bridges. So the PhD, except the PhD student, postdoc, or and higher than the postdoc can apply as a PI. And but what is important is, of course, the PI must have a PhD and having a work contract covering the full duration of the project. Coming to the grant amount, a maximum 400,000 euros per project when it collaborates with companies. This means the project, the public institutions can ask for the project eligible cost up to 400,000 euros. This is kind of, aid rates up to 100%. So the public research institutions can get up to 100% the project cost. And like I mentioned earlier, so the duration of the project can lie from 24 months up to 36 months, depends on the need of the project objectives. So maybe then I leave Christian to give funding conditions from the company side.
Thank you, Sakti. So concerning the companies, the funding conditions are aligned with our standard R&D aid schemes that are based on the RDI law, and that gives certain aid rates to specific topics. And so differently to this more classical aid schemes, so one particularity here is that upon request, we may grant an 35% upfront payment. Then the maximum funding amount goes up to 700,000 euros per company at an aid rate that goes up to 80% of the eligible costs. So as we focusing on industrial research projects only, the aid rate depends on the size of the company. So for small-sized companies, we have aid rates up to 80%. For medium-sized companies, this goes up to 75%. And for large ones, we still have an aid rate that goes up to 65%. So if a large company would have to attain the maximum funding, the eligible costs of the total budget should be something around 1,076,000 euros. Good. Now in the following, I will give some insights on the specific submission and evaluation process within this call. Again, it is aligned with the 2 previous calls that we organized already together with Diavana and with Lux Innovation. And so it starts with the phase 1 that starts today, and which the submission phase of this phase 1 will end in 2 months, so the 15th of November. So within the submission phase, a project outline, a submission is required, which is something like a 2-pager. And within the next slides, I will come back to that in more detail. So the submission is done together, jointly by the 2 actors on the research industry collaboration platform. Then the evaluation will start after the closing of the submission phase, and it is based on a review of the project outline by the 2 granting authorities together with Lux Innovation. And Lux Innovation will also then do the more general eligibility check and the financial viability check. And then after this, there will be a go or no-go decision where certain consortia will be rejected and others will be forwarded to phase 2, sometimes with potential recommendations. So communication on this will probably done by mid of December. Then the second phase will start beginning of next year, the 2nd of January, and which will consist in the submission of a full project proposal. So now, and this is different to the 2 previous calls, there's only one joint template that needs to be filled out together by the 2 parties. And then afterwards, this joint template needs to be transmitted on the MyGuichet platform by the company and onto the Avanar grant system platform by the research organization. And of course, there will be also some annexes, like for instance, financial annexes, where then the company or the research organization will give their maybe more confidential details that are then submitted only on one of these platforms. So the submission phase will then close end of February, and the evaluation will be done by an independent expert panel. So this is well known from standard Avanar grant procedures, and it will be based on certain scientific, technical, and also economic criteria that I will also discuss in a minute. And then this independent expert panel will give a recommendation on projects to be awarded. And normally the Avanar aligned itself on this recommendation. And in the case of the Ministry of Economy, projects that have been recommended still needs to pass a stated commission. And then in the end, there will an Avanar and Ministry of Economy joint funding decision. Here again is a more visualized representation of the whole call timeline. So you have the phase 1 with the project outline that starts today and that will end 15th of November. Then there will be feedback of the organizers probably by mid-December. Second phase with the submission of a full project proposal that will start beginning of next year. A panel of experts that will come together in April, probably in April 2023, and then a decision will be taken at latest in July 23. All right, let me come back and a little bit more in detail onto the submission and evaluation process of phase 1. So the decision on the forward to phase 2 is based on certain criteria that are aligned with, or the projects need to be aligned, or it checks its alignment with the call text. So for instance, if the project is in line with the call topic, if the benefits of using HPC are consistent with the call objectives and topic, and also we will also check the completeness of compulsory information. And in the case of companies, we will check the general stated eligibility, and also if the company has the required co-funding capacity. Therefore, make sure that the project costs are adapted to your specific co-funding capacity. So a few words to these compulsory documents that you will find as annexes on the platform, and that builds this project outline proposal. So it includes a short project description. You also need to provide some HPC-related informations, like for instance, what kind of HPC infrastructure you'd like to use. What are, for instance, the number of node hours that you require, and things like this. And then you should also provide a first cost estimation on the project. So these informations are directly provided on, or you need to provide them directly on the research industry collaboration platform by Lux Innovation. And then another point, which is actually optional for phase 1, is that you can provide a CV of the main investigators, but here we'd like to ask for ORCID or LinkedIn profiles only. Then a few more words to what is required from the company. So to do this financial check and also the check of the size of the company, we need an organigram of the company, so it shall show full visibility on the shareholder structure up to the ultimate beneficial owner. We also need the balance sheet and the profit and loss accounts from the year 2000 and 2021, and which from the applicants, but also from all the linked entities. This can, of course, also be consolidated accounts if available. And then we also require some cash flow forecast. So in the case of startups, this must be a detailed cash flow forecast, and in the case of other companies, a simplified version would be enough. You can find templates for this also on the platform. Then I will say a few more words to the submission and evaluation process of phase 2, or namely about the evaluation process. So as I mentioned earlier, the submission the phase 2 will close on 28th of February, and then there will be a review of the full project proposal by this independent expert panel that will base its recommendation on certain evaluation criteria. Then it will recommend projects to be awarded, and finally there will be a state aid commission consultation and a joint Havana Ministry of Economy funding decision. Now, concerning this evaluation criteria, again, I think this is well known from the Havana grant procedures. Here, we will focus on 3 main criteria, namely first, or categories. So the first one is the relevance of the project. So we will check the project idea, if it is clear, and we will also check the pertinence of the objectives. We will also check the level of innovation and soundness of the research approach, and there will be an evaluation of the scientific and technical maturity. Second category will be the implementation of the project. So we will have a look at the quality and efficiency of the project plan, which will include, for instance, coherence and effectiveness of the work plan. This includes also appropriateness of the allocation of tasks and resources. So in this case, it could, for instance, be HPC relevant topics like if the estimated number of node hours is enough to achieve the project results. Then we will also have a look at the competence and experience of the team. We will check the level of ambition of the collaboration and the commitment of the different participants. So it is very important that each participant is committing at a certain degree to the project. So there shouldn't be one partner that does all the work on their own, but the two should contribute at least for 30% of the overall contribution. Then we will also have a look at the management structures and procedures, quality of the risk management plan, and soundness of the risk mitigation plan. A third category is about the impact of the project. So what is the added value of the applied research? Does it strengthen, for instance, the competitiveness and growth of the company? And what is the contribution of the project to the advancement of knowledge in the field of HPC? So this is very important, as within this call we really want to encourage or to foster the transfer of knowledge in the field of HPC, or to increase also the knowledge. All right. Now, before I come to the end of my presentation, I want to highlight something that Benjamin announced already in the beginning of his introduction, namely that this joint call for projects is embedded in a larger initiative of the Ministry of Economy, namely that we want to raise awareness of using computer-aided R&D, so numerical simulations and things like this, within the internal innovation process. And so depending on the level of expertise of the company, there exist different aid schemes that can be used, that are competitive and where there is no fixed deadline. So for instance, if there's a company that has no knowledge at all at the moment in computer-aided R&D, it can, for instance, make use of the aid scheme of aid for external consulting. So this is typically done for small and middle-sized companies to make a first assessment whether a computer-aided R&D could be introduced in their internal innovation process. Then there's also the possibility of using a feasibility study where first assessment can be done, for instance, for companies that do already computer-aided R&D, but that do not have done yet the upscaling to HPC structures, because there are many hurdles to mount, and so a feasibility study could be done to check or to make an assessment of these risks. And then for companies that have already a very high expertise, they could use our standard industrial research or experimental development aid schemes to conduct research or development on their own on HPC. So, and with this, I will hand over to Maximilian from Lux Innovation, who will give more information on the specific Lux Innovation support within this call.
Thank you, Christian, and good morning also from my side to every one of you. So indeed, my name is Maximilian Schibbel, and I am part of the Corporate R&D and Innovation Support Department here at Lux Innovation. As Christian mentioned, I will now also very briefly present you the support that we at Lux Innovation can offer you during this HPC call, as well as also a short glimpse into the functioning of the research industry collaboration platform. So during this HPC call, we will actually be there to support all the interested companies during both phases of the call. During phase 1 of the call, we will assist you by raising awareness on the eligibility and financial viability checks and how you can document these elements within your application. This will be mainly done by means of free Q&A sessions, which I will illustrate in more detail on the next slide. And during the second phase of the call, we will then also support all the selected companies by reviewing and stress testing their applications regarding elements such as the innovative nature of their project, their business model and exploitation plan, and also their financial capacity to co-fund this project. But in addition to these elements, we can of course also try to support you in some other domains, such as intellectual property, building up of relationships, or also the project financing. So as mentioned on this slide, you can now see the dates and topics of the free Q&A sessions that we would like to organize during the first phase of the call. And of course, I would highly invite you to already register yourselves for these Q&A sessions, and you can find the registration links directly on the platform. But I will come back to the platform in just a minute. So on the 29th of September, we will start with a first Q&A session where we will explain in more detail the main eligibility criteria. Actually, those have already been briefly introduced today by Christian, but during this Q&A session, we will jump into more detail in this regard and will also explain a little bit more about the eligible project costs and how you can estimate them. On the 13th of October, we will then focus on the company's co-funding capacity and how you should assess your own capacity in comparison to the total project costs. As Christian already mentioned, here it is really important that each company prepares a cash flow forecast for the submission at phase 1. During this second Q&A session, we will then, of course, go into more detail in this regard and explain which elements should definitely be included in the application and how you should address potential issues. And last but not least, on the 7th of November, so roughly a week before the deadline, we will then also organize a completeness check, where we share more information on all the required attachments and give you the possibility of a final Q&A session. In addition to these free Q&A sessions, there's also a dedicated FAQ tab directly on the platform, which we will regularly update with the most relevant questions that have been addressed either during these Q&A sessions or that have been answered by or have been raised by email directly. So let's now also have a short look at the research industry collaboration platform. For those of you who have not yet visited the platform, here on this website, you can really find all the relevant information and news on the different joint calls. Here, you can also, after the different webinars, find the replays as well as the presentation slides, if you have any questions that would come up even after the webinars. For those of you who have not yet registered themselves on the platform, I would, as I said before, really invite you to follow the link that you can find on this slide to create and set up your own account. That's actually a first very important step because it will allow you, on the one hand, to see the already shared project ideas on the platform, but it will also give you the possibility to start your project application. So by clicking on the Joint Call HPC on the top of the website, you can find more information on this HPC call, as well as the official call text that Christian already mentioned before. But on this site here, on the platform, you also have some very interesting opportunities. You can, on the one hand, browse the project ideas that have already been published by other interested parties, but you can also share your own idea to, for instance, find new partners. And well, last but not least, I guess the most important thing that you can do on this site is really to also create your project application for phase 1. And as already explained during the previous slides of the webinar, the whole preparation and submission process of phase 1 will directly be done on the platform. So with that being said, I would like to thank you all for your attention, and I would suggest that we now move on to the Q&A part of today's webinar.
Great, thank you all for the interesting presentations and deep dive into the call. So I see there are already questions, so I read them and either respond directly or ask you to respond to them. So the first question is about the presentation. Will you email this presentation to the participants? You can find actually the presentation and the replay of this webinar session on the Research and Industry Collaboration platform. There you can also download the presentation. It will be uploaded just after this webinar. And you can also rewatch the webinar just after the end. You'll receive a link by the email. The next question is, should the PI have an ADR, Autorisation Dirigée de Recherche? I guess Saktivel would answer that, can answer that question.
Yes. So since I think this is also connected with another question asking whether PhD student is part of the project. Since I think I mentioned in the presentation, but maybe it's missed. Since PhD student is not part of the project, the reason I mentioned because the project duration is 24 months. So it starts from 24 months, which is very less. And second is another reason is here we expect knowledge transfer, meaning if somebody gained an experience over the years in the research, how he can or she can contribute to the industry. I mean, from the academic to industry and vice versa. So since it's more than the knowledge development, here is the knowledge transfer. In that sense, minimum required is more at a postdoc level. So since PhD student is not part of the project, so a PI does not need to have ADR. So the answer is ADR is not required because PhD student is not part of the project.
Great. Thank you, Sakti. And there is another question connected. What is the research level of the PI?
Okay, so I think this also I mentioned a little bit from the public research institution point of view. PhDs must, but like I said, also if somebody is having 15 years of research experience in an institution, and they can get a prior approval from FNR, whether he or she is eligible. So this is fine. But what is important is the research experience is important in that sense.
Thank you. There is another question for you. Should the private submission be done before the FNR one? What are the prerequisites to the submission on the FNR side?
I think, yeah, Christian, you can also take it. You can complement a
Okay.
little later. Yeah, so I think you are right. I mean, the question itself has an answer. The second stage is what the project comes to submit at FNR grant management system. So the first phase, the submission is at the platform the Lux Innovation is providing. And yeah, so the consortium is going to submit, not public or private. So the consortium is going to submit the idea in the platform.
Okay, great. Do you want to complete, Christian?
Yeah, I think we can mention that it's not, there is no specific first or second submission. So yeah, it should be submission before the end of the submission phase. And yeah, normally as the two work together on the template, it will be submitted within the same time onto the FNR grant system and onto the MyGuichet platform.
Thank you. Let's go to the next one. As the cost estimation is machine dependent, are scaling studies required for such estimation? Maybe I can take that question. So we usually recommend for both parties, so company and research organization, to get in touch with the chosen HPC center, who will provide the HPC resources to for them to understand your project and be able to help you estimate that cost. So in terms of computing resources, but also storage resources and the expert personnel that would help you to access and optimize your applications on HPC. So yeah, there is part of research organization expertise, but there is also the part of expertise and involvement that would be necessary from your side to get in touch with the computing center that you have chosen to let them help you to estimate these costs and what would be needed for your project. I hope I answered the question, and I would go to the next one. Is there a limit in terms of number of proposals that a PI from a research organization can submit? Sakti, you made.
I think since it's a pilot call, we don't want to limit the number of ideas, so it's fine. So we don't have any restrictions on number of submission by one PI. But maybe in the next call we will learn and we will see if many number of proposals come from a PI. Maybe we will adopt. But this year we don't have any such a restriction.
But I think we can add there that it must make sense, and that we also will check the work plan, and if PI can then also carry out, for instance, two projects. That's something which is also an important criteria. And maybe sometimes it's better to focus on one project only, but as Sakti said already, there's no restriction.
Thank you. So let's go to the next. I guess the question about the PhD position was answered. So let's go to the following one. Are HPC costs outside of Luxembourg eligible? And if yes, under which category?
Yeah, in principle, we don't restrict to any specific HPC infrastructure. So also HPC infrastructures from outside would in principle be eligible. But as we have here in Luxembourg strong machines, I think it's recommended to use also these kinds of infrastructure here.
Yeah, indeed, the following question is asking if the costs for using the Luxina for this project are eligible, and again, and also the university HPC. So you answered that these are available and can be used, and costs are eligible under which cost category?
So I think maybe I can try to answer that. Maybe Christian can continue. I think each institutions like University of Luxembourg, LIST, they have their own cost model, HPC cost model, which is worked within the research department, finance and accounting department, along with the HPC center itself. So in 2020, there was an agreement between these three departments, and they have a model, cost model, which is in accordance with the FNR financial guidelines. I think what we can answer here, of course, the other costs still hold good. They can put it, but in those cases like FNR core or FNR open, those are kind of matching. But when it comes exclusive call, HPC exclusive call, we can discuss the cost model which is worked along with these three departments, and if still the other cost is the right place. But if you want to follow the same agreement between these three departments, yes, it comes under other costs.
Thank you. I would continue. I will take some questions from the Q&A tab as well. How many projects will finally be accepted for this call fund?
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that it is a competitive joint call for projects. So there will be projects that will be rejected, but we can't tell any number. So it depends on the quality of the projects that are submitted, and in the end also on the number. We as it is a pilot call, we have not real idea what to expect. And so in the end, it will depend on what we have and what the quality of these are, and if they fit into the criteria of phase 2, and then also of phase 1, and then of phase 2. So yeah.
Thank you. Go to the next. How can applicants access HPC resources? How to include this aspect in the proposals? Also from a financial viewpoint. I think I mentioned already this, so we recommend you get in touch with your chosen HPC provider, and they will inform you about their access policies and access modes. And they will help you to estimate resources, so the financial aspect of it, which will be budgeted inside the proposal. There will be dedicated cost line to that, asking you how much your project is estimated to use HPC resources. So what's costs that you foresee for the HPC resources. As I mentioned before, HPC resources means computing, storage, but also the expertise from the HPC center that you have chosen. Okay, I take another question. So there's another question saying, we do fire, noise and vibrations propagation for environmental and industrial fields. For that, we use dedicated softwares, but we are limited by the standard computing performances for large projects. Can we participate on HPC program? Yes, of course. This is a good example and a good use case for HPC. So I encourage you to take part and participate to this call. Next question is, I guess we answered about how many projects will be funded, and we will send you the link to the collaboration platform. Now, I'm waiting for other questions. If there are last minute ones, I think we covered the ones that we had here. Is there anyone else on the stage who would like to add anything else?
I think there was one question about UL HPC cost. Yes, it is eligible. Of course, choosing a HPC center is optional. It's choice, their choice. So definitely, University of Luxembourg HPC center in the same line. So costs are eligible. The answer is yes.
Thank you for taking that. I have missed that question. Okay, so I'll send now the link to the collaboration platform if no one else has done that. Yeah. Okay. I think we are good with questions. I will invite you to register for the next session on the 29th of September. You can find the registration link on the Lux Innovation website or also the Research and Industry Collaboration platform. So with that, I will thank you. And we'll see you very soon on the 29th of September with the following thematic about main eligibility criteria and the eligible project costs for this joint call HPC. Thank you, our speakers for today. And we'll see you 29th of September. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.